I grew up with dirt under my fingernails and sunburns on my neck. My dad ran a small landscaping company. Nothing fancy, but solid. And from the time I was about 10, I was out there with him every summer, raking, digging, planting. Most kids my age were playing video games. I was learning how to operate backhoes and excavators before I hit puberty. And honestly, I loved it. My dad was tough. The kind of man who thought good job was something you earned, not something you got for showing up. But he was fair, and even though he rarely said it, he had a heart of gold. He taught me how to work and how to be proud of my work. By high school graduation, I was running machines full-time. It wasn't glamorous, long hours, dirty hands, aching back, but I was building something real. The only problem? Landscaping was seasonal. And when winter hit, the machines and the money stopped. That's when my dad pulled some strings and got me a winter job with one of his old friends. A guy I'll call Larry the Asshole, or LA for short. And believe me, both names fit. Studio Microphone. Larry ran an equipment-for-hire company that mostly worked for a big pipeline contractor. The first few winters, things went smoothly. I was away from home a lot, which was tough, especially since I'd just gotten married young. But the pay was steady, and I was grateful. Larry wasn't a great guy. He was condescending, smug, always had to remind everyone he was self-made. But I barely saw him, so whatever. Until one night changed everything. We were finishing a job not far from his office, and out of the blue, Larry showed up. He told me, "Hey kid, I'm buying drinks tonight. Let's go celebrate." Now this was weird because I was basically his only employee on site. But free beer is free beer, right? So I went. At first it was all small talk, but then he started in on me. Loud enough for everyone in the bar to hear. I gave this rich kid a job out of charity. He never earned anything. Daddy handed him everything. People laughed awkwardly. I tried to play along, smile, shrug it off, say something like, "Guess I lucked out, huh?" But inside, I wanted to disappear, because that's not who I was. I'd worked for every damn dollar I had. Still, I kept quiet. He was my boss after all. Studio Microphone. On the ride back to the hotel, the atmosphere turned cold. Larry was silent. Then, out of nowhere, he pulled the truck over, stared at me with that smug little grin, and said, "Maybe you should go work for your daddy, and leave us real men alone. Get out." I froze for a second, thought he was joking. He wasn't. So I got out, and I walked the rest of the way back. 10 minutes in freezing wind. Every step burned with humiliation. I didn't know then that my dad and Larry had recently had a falling out. Some business dispute that had nothing to do with me. But I was the one who paid for it. And I promised myself I wouldn't let it end there. Studio Microphone. When spring came, I went back to landscaping full-time. Money was fine, life was good again, but that night kept replaying in my head. The bar. The insults. That smirk. I couldn't shake it. And then, one afternoon, while loading an excavator onto a trailer, a thought hit me so hard I nearly dropped the ramp. Why couldn't we do what Larry did? We already had machines. We already had skilled people. They just sat idle for months every winter. It wasn't just a comeback idea. It was revenge, wrapped in logic and profit. That night, I pitched it to my dad. He was skeptical. He said, "Son, that's a different world. Those pipeline contracts are big league stuff." But I was obsessed. I told him, "Dad, we got the iron. We got the experience. We just need one chance." He sighed and said the words that changed everything. "All right, you want to try? Let's do it your way." Studio Microphone. So I did my homework. I knew Larry's biggest client. I'd worked on their sites for 3 years. I knew their schedules, their supervisors, even how they handled paperwork. I called one of the foremen, someone who actually liked me, and asked for a meeting. He remembered me. Said, "You were that quiet kid who ran the excavator like it was an extension of his arm, right?" I laughed. "That's me. And I've got some equipment for you this winter, if you're interested." He hesitated, but then said, "Larry's been slipping lately. Send me a quote." Boom. That was my opening. Within a week, I had a small subcontract signed. 1 excavator and 1 grader. That first winter, I worked harder than I ever had in my life. I ran the excavator by day, did the paperwork by night, and barely slept. But when the checks started coming in, when I saw that our idle machines were finally paying off, It felt incredible. Studio microphone. The next year, they wanted more. 2 excavators, 2 graders, a trencher. Suddenly, we weren't just a landscaping company anymore. We were breaking into heavy construction. And guess whose name kept coming up less and less in those meetings? Larry's. By year 3, the tables had turned completely. We were no longer subcontracting to Larry's company. We were replacing it. That same pipeline contractor signed a major deal with us directly. Larry lost his biggest client, the one that had been keeping his business afloat for decades. And me? I didn't even have to touch a machine anymore. I had a team, a company, a future. Studio microphone. One afternoon, years later, I walked into that pipeline company's office for a meeting. And there he was, Larry. He was older, heavier, slower. That same arrogant spark in his eyes was gone. When he saw me, there was this flicker of recognition and disbelief. He forced a smile. "Hey, kid. Long time no see." I smiled back. "Yeah, how've you been?" We shook hands. And for a second, I saw it. That flash of realization that his biggest client now belonged to me. I didn't gloat. Didn't need to. Because my success said everything I ever could. Studio microphone. Today, our company runs year-round. We've expanded the landscaping side into massive municipal projects, parks, commercial developments, you name it. All because one insecure, bitter man couldn't handle working with the boss's son. Larry's still out there, doing his thing, smaller scale, older machines, fewer clients. But honestly, it's not about him anymore. Because what started as revenge became the foundation for my family's legacy. And every time I see our equipment rolling out on a crisp winter morning, I remember that cold night years ago. The night I was kicked out of a truck and told I wasn't a real man. Turns out, the best revenge really is success. When he saw me standing there, the kid he fired, running the company that took his biggest client, there was no shouting, no drama, just silence. The kind of silence that screams louder than words ever could. Because in that silence, he knew he'd made a mistake, and I didn't need to rub it in. I just smiled and got back to business. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about outgrowing the people who try to hold you down. It's about turning humiliation into fuel and failure into a blueprint. Larry's insults built the fire, but I built the empire. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, drop a comment about the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed. And make sure you subscribe for more real stories of justice served cold. Because sometimes success isn't just the best revenge. It's the only one that matters.